we're going to examine everything that happened during the Donald Trump attempted assassination shooting that all of us by now have seen. And we're going to look at it and study all of the videos. We're going to show you videos that you've seen. During our analysis, we're going to study the events that led up to the shooting and what happened before and then during and then what happened afterwards, and assess what possibly went wrong and what could have been done better, and what do we think that they'll be making improvements later in the future. So 5 days before, the Secret Service scopes out the empty Butler Farms site. So here is that area in question right here, the fairgrounds. And what they did was the Secret Service was going to fence in this entire area here and make this the enclosed area under security where they have full control. They identified this building as a threat and had asked the local police give some sort of protection over here. And now they're pointing fingers at each other, but the local police were saying, hey, we didn't have any manpower other than basic traffic control.
They were looking at assignments or ready to divvy up assignments, and our police department indicated that the manpower that they had necessary was not adequate for any assignment other than the traffic assignment that they intended to do.
So when you zoom into it here, this is where the stage was, and Trump was speaking probably somewhere right around here. And the gunman was going to be right over here on this part of the roof, right where the arrow is, approximately in that spot. And believe it or not, folks, as we're going to find out later, believe it or not, folks, right here on the second floor of this building is where there were snipers. The police had snipers in there. And how nobody saw him crawling up on this roof. He probably crawled up from the back right up here. But how nobody saw him shimmying when people on the ground saw him is going to be the subject of much debate. Now, 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks learns of this Trump rally that's taking place on July 13th. He learns about it on July 3rd, so he's got about 10 days to plan for it. While still in high school, he appeared in this Black Rock video as an advertisement. Slowed it down for you. On July 17th, in front of Congress, FBI Deputy Director Paul Abate was giving an update, and he told them that on July 6th, the shooter did a Google search for where will Trump speak from on Saturday the 13th. He shows up at the Clairton Sportsman's Club on July 12th, the day before the shooting, to do some practice shooting. He had actually tried to join the rifle club in high school, but apparently his classmates said he was a terrible shot. So he must have gotten a little bit better since then. So now it is July 13th, the day of the shooting, and the shooter, first thing he does is he goes to a Home Depot early in the morning to buy a 5-foot ladder. And I believe it was the Home Depot that wasn't far away. And you know me, folks, I know my Home Depots. If anybody knows, I know my Home Depots. And so here is the Home Depot right up here in Butler. And the Lowe's is even right next to it also. And this is the site right down here where everything took place. It was right in here. So it's barely a mile away. It also could have been another Home Depot closer to Bethel Park where he lived, because he went to this gun shop here, the Allegheny Arms and Gun Works, and he picked up 50 rounds of ammunition on his way up to Butler, Pennsylvania. Now it's 3 p.m., 3 hours before the shooting, and the shooter tries to get in through security, but the magnetometers pick up his digital rangefinder, which is used to give you distances. They allowed him in, surprisingly, but they kept an eye on him, and then he left the area. Okay, so now I made up this diagram here from an overhead photo of what was going on. Now the shooter would have been way over here off to the lower left on top of the roof of one of those other buildings, which is about the same height as these over here. You can see here these red barns. And he probably would have been at about this height here, pretty much eye to eye with the Secret Service counter snipers. So remember, this is north. This is pointing north here, and then this is pointing south. So the bullets would have come from this direction from the shooter and would have to come this way towards Trump and gone over here. So that's why you see this is the locations of our victims. This one here died. He's the red dot. And the 2 yellow dots are the ones that were injured. And we know one of them was sitting right directly in the corner of the back of the bleachers here. I will be showing you later what happened here to this boom lift. But remember, we had 2 sets of snipers for the Secret Service. One was right here, covering the north side, and another set was right here, covering the south side. Now, the Secret Service counter-sniper team starts setting up. So this is the north team, and they're setting up on their barn, which is going to be on the left side of the stage if you're facing the stage. And this is the south side team here. So they are over barn number 14, which is on the right side of the stage if you're facing the stage. So these guys are getting set up with their gear. And then at 5:06 p.m., WTAE got this video from a guy who was just shooting there with his cell phone. And you can see the shooter walking outside the secure area. He's outside the fenced area, and he's scoping out that building. And the guy pans around a little bit, comes back again, and now he's just standing there outside the fence area. Kind of eerie. And then at 5:14 p.m., a police sniper captured this photo of the shooter. He was apparently using a rangefinder in his cell phone, and at this point he became a person of interest, and after this they lost sight of him. Then at 5:28 p.m., he took a picture of this bicycle and a backpack. Don't know what the significance is of these. Meanwhile, the crowd is enjoying a really great time in the afternoon. They have no idea what's about to go down. They are just blissfully unaware at this point. At 5:33 p.m., former President Trump's motorcade arrives at the Butler, Pennsylvania rally.
Our President Trump is in one of those vehicles. There he is. We don't know which one, but we know he's there. Look.
Now, here's where things really start to get dicey in the timeline, because check out this headline from ABC News. This was a couple of days ago, and it says the Secret Service spotted the shooter on the roof 20 minutes before the gunfire erupted. So this is just getting crazier and crazier, because now the Secret Service is going to have to answer to why did they have 20 minutes of advance notice here, that they knew this guy was sitting there on the roof and nobody had gotten up there to do anything about him. And why did they allow Trump out there yet? They could have waited until they sent a bunch of people up there to neutralize him, to eject him, to get him out of there, get him off the roof, to put maybe some more people on the roof for security purposes. So why wasn't any of that done? I think that will fall on the heads of the site command. Meanwhile, at the same time, many of the rally goers are trying to flag down the police and point to this guy because everybody sees him climbing up on the roof.
There he is right there. Right there, see him? He's laying down, you see him?
Yeah, he's laying down.
Instead, I'm here with you fighting like hell to get a Senate.
What's happening? Yeah, look. There he is.
Because we have millions and millions of people in our country that shouldn't be here. Dangerous people. Criminals. We have criminals.
He's
We
on
have
the roof. He's
drug
right
dealers. We have people that
Right
should not be
here,
here.
right on the roof.
It's much tougher than it happens.
He went right on the roof again.
Now, I should point out something here. There's a slight discrepancy, even though all of the news outlets are reporting about the same meeting that the FBI director and his deputies he had with the lawmakers on Wednesday, July 17th. There's one little data point here that's a little strange. So it says right here at 5:52, Crooks was spotted on the roof by Secret Service. So I don't see how he could have been spotted by the Secret Service at 5:52 p.m. because the people that were pointing out in their videos that they saw Crooks shimmying up the roof, it didn't happen until probably about 6:09 p.m. because Trump was already on stage when he was shimmying up the roof.
Yeah, look. There he is.
Because we have millions and millions of people in our country that shouldn't be here. Dangerous.
So unless he had been on the roof and gotten off the roof, we simply don't know. So this doesn't jive with, say, Axios, which shows that at 5:52, they were still trying to find him. So it says here, the security room disseminated info to the counter-sniper response team, and the additional response teams on the ground didn't really say what it was that they disseminated, but they said that they just noticed him with a rangefinder on the outer perimeter at 5:51 p.m. So he couldn't have been on the outer perimeter there with the rangefinder and then up on the roof within a minute. That's just simply not possible. Some of these little timestamps until the official investigation comes out and we have actual timestamps from the radio communications and not just reported by the people from the news who heard it secondhand from people who were at this meeting, we're not going to get an accurate depiction quite yet. So what we're looking at here then is this is where the gunman was. He was positioned right here. If you saw the photos of him lying on the roof, he was right by this little connection right here between the two buildings. So he was sitting right here. and Trump was on the stage way over here. So they're saying that they saw him at 6:05 at the picnic tables, and we're looking, and I know there's probably one here. I wanted to come in close, and these are really the only picnic tables I was able to find. There's one here, and there's the other one here. Now, if we look, we just zoom in here. So the stage would have been right over here, and the counter sniper team, the north team, was right over here. And then the south team would be on the top of this other barn over here. So there's two different barns right here. And this probably would have been a logical place for them to see him, knowing that he probably walked over here and the peak of the roof is right here. And he was shimmying up. Everybody saw him shimmying up here. The videos were taken from the opposite side of the building. So all of those videos of him shimmying up, he was shimmying up right here and ended up there. So it looks like he probably found a way to climb up on this little shorter roof here and then got his way up here. The police were already closing into this area looking for him. They knew that they were looking for him, and somebody spotted him, and then they couldn't find him. So these timestamps here are starting to get a little bit fuzzy, except that we know that at least by 6:10 or so, he was climbing up this roof, and people were pointing that out to the police. Now, at this time, an officer hoists himself up over the roof line, and he's peeking over there and looking, and he sees the gunman there with the gun. The gunman turns and points at him, and the officer has no choice. He has to let go. He's got both hands, and you can't engage the guy. You can't reach down and grab your gun and hang on with one hand, unless you're me at the gym. During Trump's speech, a lady notices something's wrong.
Uh-oh. Where are they running to?
So this woman is sitting up in the grandstands directly behind Trump. And she notices again that there's several people running over towards where that building is. And you're going to get a very quick glimpse of it. And I think they're probably cops.
Oh, wow. Where are they running to?
Now I'm going to slow this down for you and we'll zoom into it. And it does sort of look like it's a couple of cops running back over there. From the lady's vantage point, it is unlikely she can directly see the shooter from there because of that tree line, but you can see the police cars in the parking lot in the background underneath the trees. Okay, so now the shooting is starting at 6:11 p.m. And I just wanted to point out that the shooter fired what we think is 8 shots total here. Okay, so what he did was he fired 3 shots initially, followed by a burst of 5 shots. So he went pow, 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 like that, and then pow, 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 pow. That's what you're going to hear. And then you're going to hear 1 and possibly 2 shots from the Secret Service, which were the kill shots. Now, the folks at MilkBarTV made this awesome video where they collaged together several different clips at the same time so you could see what was going on in different areas during the shooting. So I'll put a link to this video in the video description below. You got to check this out. Now, fast forward, you will see the shooting actually starts at the 2-minute mark.
That chart's a couple of months old, and if you want to really see something that says,
I hope he's turning this way. Be careful, guys.
So I think the shooting stopped at about 2 minutes and 6 seconds. And I believe that at 2 minutes and 7 seconds is when the Secret Service got off maybe 1 shot, and then they got another one off at 2 minutes and 16 seconds, according to the timer that they have on this video. Now look at the right side of the screen. There's the bleachers behind the president, and you can see they're waving for medical help to come because that's where Corey Comparator was shot and killed at that point. You can't see anything there because he's down and the crowd's sort of blocking the view, but they're all rushing to try to get help for him. These are the bleachers on the far left side of the stage as you're facing the stage. Now let's analyze what happened when the shots were fired. Now, those of you who know my channel well, you know I did those series of videos last year on the Ocean Gate Titan submarine implosion. You remember all of those. And then I found that really good Azgat Industries video, and this girl does these great 3D modelings. And if you remember, I pointed to her video and I said, hey, go check out her video. And when I did that, this was at night when I uploaded my video, and she only had 300 subscribers. By the morning, she had 1,500 subscribers, and I had single-handedly monetized her overnight. So anyway, I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to show you another great video that she did here. This is probably the best of the 3D renditions we've seen so far here on the Trump shooting. So make sure you check out her full video. I'll put a link to it in the video description below for you. So her simulation shows the first bullet hits Trump's ear and then the spectator in the corner of the bleacher off to the right. Watch for the smoke behind the spectator in the corner. So you just heard the first 3 shots from the shooter. So let's hear it again in slow motion. By now you've all probably seen this now famous photo of the bullet with the vapor trail passing by Donald Trump's head. Now, the folks at Point Consciousness showed us this nice diagram that shows just how close that bullet came to killing Donald Trump. Next, Amber from Azgat Industries shows us again on the 3D modeling the 8 shots from the shooter.
Take a look at what happened.
With all that gunfire, it's easy to understand how these spectators were injured, even though they were not the target, including the sole spectator who lost his life that day.
When the shots first ring out, check out the north side Secret Service snipers on the left here.
We see something that said, take a look at what happened.
Now here it is slowed down 3 times, and on the first shot he lifts up his tripod and sets back, and I'm like, why would he do that after you've spent all that time setting up? You just have to re-aim now. At this second, the shooter has just stopped firing, and we're waiting for that shot from the Secret Service sniper. Here it comes, right here. Now, it wasn't this sniper that did it. That's the North team. It came from the South team sniper. Here's the other pair of Secret Service snipers. The South side, they are now facing north towards the building.
I want to really see something that said, take a look at what happened.
And that's all they gave us. I hate it when videos end at the worst time. But here it shows the South counter sniper shooter team, and they're facing south to the right. And then sometime before the shooting, all of a sudden now they're facing north to the left. And these are the guys that I believe took out the shooter because they had a clear line of sight to the roof that was not obstructed by that tree due to the angle of the trajectory that they were at. Now I want to show you something here that maybe you didn't see in any of the other videos, so check this out. Okay, so there's the ends of the shots fired. The shooter is done. Now look over there, see all of that hydraulic oil that's shooting out of the hose there from the boom lift? As the Secret Service is getting the spare limo ready, you can see the puddle on the sidewalk to the right of the screen there, see it? Over the cop's head. And the entire sidewalk is wet with that hydraulic fluid. And then next, as they are driving Trump away in the spare limo, you can see the cops are walking across that wet sidewalk now with all of the hydraulic fluid spilt everywhere. Now I want you to keep your eye on this lady, the Secret Service. Look, she's having a hard time holstering her weapon unless she changed her mind or somebody over the radio told her to keep weapons out. I don't know. But she's holstering it again. It looks like it took her a few tries to get it in there. So I thought that was a little bit odd. And then look at this viewpoint here. This is immediately after the shooting when they were bringing a little paramedic vehicle over the sidewalk there. And you can see they drove right through that hydraulic fluid. It's just all over the place there in a big puddle. And they're setting up a triage area right here in this spot behind the bleachers to treat any of the potential shooting victims. Once they got Trump secured, then the cops couldn't get over their own fence, so they had to ram it with a police car. And then all of a sudden, a whole bunch of cops are now trying to get out of the contained area. They actually had themselves sort of locked in there, unable to get out. So now they start pouring out in huge numbers, and they're running over there. Keep your eye on that guy with the ladder. You'll see him in a second there. And there's a Secret Service agent running alongside them as well. So they're all running over there. I don't know why these guys are kind of cowering over here. Some of them are trying to surround the building. Here, he just throws the ladder over a second fence outside the building there. And who knows whether they needed it or not. It could be the shooter was kind enough to set things up for them so they could just come right up there like he did. Here's the second video when the shots first rang out on the building. That was the last Secret Service sniper shot that took out the shooter. Now, this large group of people here, they all have their phones aimed at that rooftop. So certainly somebody there must have gotten much more clearer, less jerkier video than this. I see people positioning themselves against the tree there as a tripod. So hopefully better quality videos will emerge as the investigation continues. And certainly somebody in that crowd got a view of the shooter down on the roof afterwards. Now, once the Secret Service agents are sure that Trump is okay, they stand him up to get him out to the spare limo. And this is what I call my group hug. That's the group hug photo. And then on the right side of the screen, look where it says, watch the very moment the photo was taken. So there's Trump with his fist up in the air. And so here's the now famous shot taken by Evan Vucci of the Associated Press of Trump with his famous raised fist photograph. And guess what? Time magazine also decided to adopt it here for the cover of their next issue for the attack on Trump. And you heard it here, folks. I think that Evan Vucci is going to win the 2024 Pulitzer Prize for photojournalism because of this picture, because it's such an incredible photograph. Now, I want you to keep your eye on this lady, the Secret Service. Look, she's having a hard time holstering her weapon unless she changed her mind or somebody over the radio told her to keep weapons out. I don't know. But she's holstering it again. It looks like it took her a few tries to get it in there. So I thought that was a little bit odd. Okay, so here they are approaching the scene. And this is where the stage is. And the shooter was over here at the back end of the roof of the building here. And then here's the vantage point. The gunman was right here where this orange cone is. And let me just stop it for a second here. Because this over here, where you see my arrow, is where the Secret Service snipers were. The first group was right here, and the second group was back here on this building. And as you can see, looking straight across through this tree, I don't think they had a clear line of sight to see the gunman here. And I wonder if the gunman knew that, or if it was just a matter of convenience, because he probably climbed up here to get up on the roof and then was found dead over here. And his gun was over here, so we don't know, was he shooting from here or was he shooting from over here? But his gun was about 6 feet away from his body, maybe at the most. Now, the other Secret Service snipers stationed back here on the south side, they did have line of sight, and it is my belief that they are the ones that took out the shooter, because I don't think these guys could see him. After they left the Butler Fairgrounds there, the Secret Service motorcade for Donald Trump, they hightailed it over to the hospital. Then they arrived at the hospital a few minutes later, and you could hear everybody's reaction.
Oh yeah, we're front row, and my friend saw blood coming out of his head.
Oh my God! Oh Jesus! There he is. Oh,
There he is. There he is. There he is.
There he is. Oh, thank God! He's walking.
He's walking. He's walking.
Okay, so looking at the possible mistakes made here, certainly they should have at least had 2 people on this roof here, and maybe even another one on top of this roof. Now, some of the early reports that came out said that Kimberly Cheadle, the director of the Secret Service, had said these roofs were too steep, but they are not steep at all. These are low-grade roofs that are about the same as these over here, and they certainly had Secret Service counter-snipers over here on these 2 roofs, and they had no problem at all whatsoever. And certainly the Trump shooter here had no problem shimmying up here on this roof and getting the job done. So certainly that was an oversight. I think they should have had somebody on the highest point. So you always have to protect the highest point here of any potential target that could be over here. And so, as you know, they had police stationed in this building right here. And I believe one of the snipers inside the building took a picture of the shooter through one of the windows on this side over here. He saw him walking around out here and using his phone and using the rangefinder. And so at that point, they should have just automatically called for a couple of officers or troopers to come out and just sit on this roof out here, knowing that they had a suspicious person there. That's the time that you start filling in security holes. One thing is for sure, though, this is a black eye for the Secret Service and for law enforcement in general. And you can bet that going forward, they're probably going to be training all the new people on all of this stuff. They're going to be analyzing this just like the coaches do on Monday morning quarterbacking.